Afternoon spills in with a hazy kind of light, as if the sun itself is hesitating unsure whether it wants to sink just yet. You and the courier cross a low ridge, where there are no more houses, only pampas grass, and dry wind blowing the scent of sun-baked earth into your sleeves. The cicadas are gone. Only the soft crunch of your footsteps in the dirt remains, and the rustle of paper from the courier's bag. Every time they switch shoulders, you glance down and notice a torn envelope, edge, as if someone had once opened it, then sealed it back. The courier catches your look and quietly says, "That one came back." The recipient ... no longer lives there. The way they say no longer sends a chill down your spine. You can't tell if the person moved away, changed homes, or left this world altogether. But the letter remains like a question, left unanswered. You ask, "Do you ever read the letters yourself?" The courier doesn't respond right away. They tug at the bag strap gently, as if considering how to answer without hurting your feelings. Only when the sender asks, they say, or when the dog tears open the envelope. Half truth, half joke. But you know they've read them, not out of curiosity, but out of duty. Some letters beg for money. Some threaten harm. Some arrive too late to say sorry. The courier is the first to see what others try to hide. Ahead, the road forks. One way leads into a village, where a summer festival buzzes with life. The other path leads out to the fields, where the sun drags your shadow long behind you, like a rope. The courier chooses the field. No explanation needed. But you see it. In the distance, a small wooden house, standing alone among the green rice. On its roof hangs a strip of white fabric, a signal for someone who once promised they'd return. As you draw closer, you see a wooden chest outside the door, tightly bound with rope. The courier unties it and lifts the lid. Inside is a pile of old letters, every one of them undelivered. "This is the waiting station," the courier says. You frown. So, unclaimed letters get left here. They nod. In some remote regions, when senders don't know the exact address, they drop off the letters here, hoping the recipient might pass by someday, or that someone with enough fate might carry the message the rest of the way. Among the pile, you notice a very old letter, the paper browned, the ink nearly vanished. The courier pulls it out and turns it over. On the back is the faint drawing of a dahlia, the emblem of an old tea house that shut down 40 years ago. Probably no one left alive to receive this, you whisper. The courier looks at you, voice serious, not certain. Some things go unclaimed, but still deserve to be left behind. And they tuck the letter into a separate box, tying it with a red string, a symbol for slow delivery, not meant for this time. Historians still debate the truth of these waiting stations. Some claim they're just folklore, but a few archaeologists have unearthed shallow wooden boxes filled with letters, all in matching handwriting. You sit down on the porch. The air is cooler now, the breeze soft, like a hand gently combing through your hair. In the distance, a bamboo wind chime clings, like the laughter of unseen children. The courier opens their bag and pulls out a new letter, no recipient yet. They pick up a brush, write a few lines, then hand it to you to read. "If someone sees this letter, please tell the summer I still remember." You ask, "Who did you write that for?" The courier replies, "I didn't write it. I only wrote down what someone else forgot." You're not sure you understand, but you nod anyway. Some letters are born to never be answered, like songs that don't need a chorus. The sky is turning a bluish gray. The courier closes the letterbox, ties it shut with weathered twine, then stands, as if their work is done. But you know, nothing is ever really done in this line of work. There is only enough to keep going. You bow your head, as if you too have sensed something, and you wonder if one day, someone walks past this small wooden house, opens the letterbox, and finds the letter you once left behind. Will they understand? Will they read it with their eyes? Or with their heart? Night falls gradually, and you realize you're not afraid. No streetlights, no phone. But with each step following the courier, you seem to have learned how to see by sound. The snap of grass under sandals, the distant cry of an owl, the wind whispering through sleeves, like the voice of time itself. The courier pulls out something you haven't seen once this whole journey, a small oil lamp, shaped like a gourd, made of fired ceramic, with a dark glaze. The flame inside is fed by turnip oil, not as pungent as fish oil, not as heavy as lard, just a gentle warmth, like the scent of a late-night diner from your memory. You don't ask, but the courier says anyway. "An old woman from the northern village gave me this," she said. "Anyone who walks far needs a flame that doesn't ask why." You pause a moment, because that sentence would make a perfect Instagram caption. Maybe if she lived today, she'd be famous. The two of you cross a low hill, where a moss-covered stone marker reads, 18th station of the Hokuriku route. At each station, the courier leaves a secret sign, not for others, just for themselves, to remember, I've passed through here. Beneath the stone, you see them tap 3 times, then slip a small wooden tag into a narrow gap. One single character is carved on it. Sing to go. You ask, why not carve the name of the recipient? The courier answers, voice hazy, because sometimes, you can't remember who, but you still have to go. That answer keeps you silent the rest of the way. Only when the soft yellow glow of a roadside inn appears in the distance do you feel yourself take a deeper breath. The inn door opens gently. The innkeeper, short, with her hair tied in the old Genroku style, steps out, holding a wooden tray. On it, not tea, not a deposit, but a bundle of old letters, bound with string. On the front, deliver if anyone passes through. The courier bows. The innkeeper smiles. Last time you carried a birth announcement for me. This time, it's a notice of passing. You feel the air grows slightly heavier, not because of death, but because of continuity. How people's lives are strung together by letters. Even when the recipient no longer has a place to receive them. Inside the inn, you notice a thick, old book on the table. The courier opens it. It's a guest log, but instead of names, people wrote down the contents of the letters they carried. Looking for lost mother. Apology to Explover. Second wedding invitation. You read each line like reading miniature novels. Each entry, a tiny scar. You turn to the courier. Has a letter ever brought something bad? They nod. Some letters made people leave home. Some made people never reply again. Then have any ever saved someone? This time they don't answer right away. Instead, they take a thin envelope from inside their robe, sealed. No name on it. They place it gently on the table. 10 years ago, the courier says, someone asked me to hold this letter, not to send, not to open, just to keep, in case one day it's needed. You look at it. There's nothing outwardly special, but somehow it feels like touching a warm stone in winter. Historians still debate, did couriers have the right to hold unsent letters? Some say it violated regulations, but a few old records suggest that in certain regions, veteran couriers were granted special trust. They could hold, destroy, or even change a letter's route, if they believed it would protect the recipient. You find that strange and beautiful. Like a vow no one made them swear. Night has fully fallen. You and the courier are invited to sleep in a small side room behind the inn. No soft mattress, no air conditioning, just woven straw mats, and the chirp of insects weaving dreams outside the wall. Before sleep, the courier lights a coil of incense. Not perfumed, but a mosquito repellent, made from dried tangerine, peel and pine. The sharp, earthy scent drifts out like a story being told without words. You lie there, eyes on the bamboo ceiling, and think, if someone were to write you a letter right now, what would they say? Is there anyone thinking of you with paper and ink, instead of just a message hidden under scene? You don't have the answer, but you do have this quiet night, and a courier, who's still awake, gently reads their satchel like they're tuning an instrument for tomorrow's performance. You wake up earlier than usual, not because of an alarm, not because of traffic, but because something feels ... too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you open your eyes just to make sure the world is still there. The bamboo and thatch room is unchanged. The sky hasn't fully brightened, but there's a faint streak of peach along the eastern horizon. The mail carrier is already sitting on the porch, blowing gently on a cup of hot tea ginger and shiso served in a small, handleless ceramic bowl. Just cool enough to hold, just warm enough to comfort your lips. They look back as you step outside and hand you a cup without a word. You drink. It's warm, truly warm. After breakfast, just a bowl of cold rice with soy sauce and pickled radish. You set off again. Today, you head deeper into the Noto region, where small temples, low hills, and scattered graveyards dot the landscape, unmarked by fences or signs. You ask, why build graves in such remote places? The mail carrier replies, makes it easier to send letters to the dead. You laugh, thinking they're joking, but they're not, really. In certain regions during the Edo period, people truly believed they could send letters to the deceased by burning them at the grave or tying them to a nearby tree branch, so the wind could carry them away. Some places even built special postboxes for the dead, carefully locked, as if someone might accidentally open the wrong letter. You arrive at such a place, a large willow with a wooden box hanging low, moss The mail carrier pulls out a thin sheet of paper and scribbles a few lines. To the one who never got to hear my apology. No address, no name, but you understand. Do the dead ever write back, you ask? The mail carrier tilts their head. Some letters vanish overnight. Others are mysteriously placed back in the sender's bag by morning. They smile. I think someone kind passes by. Or maybe someone lazy doing the dishes decided to help out the afterlife. You chuckle, then stop. Thinking of the things you've never said, the words left unsent or unspoken. And if you had such a box, what would you write? As you continue, you see children running through the fields, laughing. One of them carries a burlap sack full of letters. They're delivering mail to the next village. The mail carrier explains. Here, letter carrying is a village job. Everyone helps. It's strange to you. Letters have always felt private, personal, silent. But here, they are part of a shared stream. Anyone can become a link in that journey. The mail carrier suddenly asks, do you remember the first letter you ever received? You think for a while, then shake your head. Maybe it was a New Year's card from a relative. Maybe a note for your parents from school. Nothing special. And yet, you feel a quiet loss for not remembering. The first letter I got, says the mail carrier, was one I wrote myself. Then asked someone else to deliver to feel like someone was coming for me. Historians still debate the social role of couriers during the Edo period. Not just carriers, they were sometimes secret keepers, love advisors, even the only ones who knew the truth about a letter's contents. In some cases, criminal cases, were solved not by officials, but by mail carriers who noticed forged handwriting. You stop at a small roadside temple. The mail carrier reaches into their bag and pulls out something different. Old bamboo cylinder, sealed with black velvet. At both ends, this is an official sealed dispatch, they whisper. Issued by the Tokugawa government. It must not be opened en route. You ask why they still have it. They answer, because the intended recipient was never born. You say nothing. The temple incense floats in the air, like unanswered questions. On the wall, someone once carved, to write is to preserve, not to receive. The mail carrier ties up the cylinder and places it on a stone pedestal near the Buddha statue. Then, bows. You bow to, not sure for whom. You leave the temple at midday. The sun no longer harsh, but sifted like powdered light in hair, on the dirt road, on the courier's shoulders. You walk between cedar trees, occasionally startling a squirrel, leaping like a rumor, yet to be proven. Today, the most curious object in the courier's bag isn't a letter, or a stamp, or even the seal but a paper fan. You assume it's for cooling off. But the mail carrier corrects you. It's used to exchange letters between people forbidden to see each other. You blink. Sounds like a novel. It is, but based on real lives. In Edo times, there were situations where two people could not or were not allowed to look at one another while delivering a letter. Noblewomen barred from their lovers, disowned children, disciples writing to vanished masters. In those cases, the fan became a silent bridge. One person held the end, the other placed the letter. No one touched, no one spoke, but everything was exchanged. You imagine writing a letter for someone who can never look at you, never reply, and suddenly, you understand why that fan might be more precious than gold. You walk alongside a dried riverbed. On the banks lie folded paper charms, scattered like someone spilled a whole box of memories. The mail carrier picks one up, blows off the dust, and reads it. A charm, you ask. They shake their head. No, a wind letter. You pause. Wind letter. Yeah, they say. Letters written for no one. Just released into the air. People believe letting them go lightens the heart. You half laugh, half mock. Sounds overly poetic. But the mail carrier looks at you. Serious. Do you feel lighter? Not saying the things you need to say. That hits you. Like how a single, plain sentence can leave you hollow. During a break, under an old pine, the mail carrier opens their bag to check its contents: an old pouch of stamps, a coil of string, a delivery logbook, a tiny bronze mirror for writing at night, and finally, something that catches your eye, a folded silk painting. They unfold it to reveal a hand-drawn map in sumi ink, not of roads, but of places where letters were lost. You spot a cherry blossom symbol by a river bend, a love letter that never arrived. Then a red circle among pine hills, surrender letter dropped, and a black cross, cold and final death notice never received. You sigh. The courier folds the map, like a story no one wants to retell. Historians still debate how strictly mail was monitored under Tokugawa rule. Some records suggest censors worked within official stations, but there also existed unofficial networks using poetry, paper fans, folded art, or bark to carry secret messages. In many cases, couriers became accidental poets, rewriting messages to preserve someone's dignity. You glance at your companion, wondering if they've ever done that, but you don't ask. You're starting to understand. Some things are clearer. When left unasked, on the road back, you spot a faded wooden sign by the path. Still barely legible, it reads, "One who carries words will never run out of words." The courier brushes a finger along the sign's edge, saying nothing. But you know it's why they keep walking, even when there may be no one left to receive, even when the story is long out of date. And you, quietly walking beside them, begin to realize you might be carrying more letters. The rain begins somewhere deep in the forest. Not the crashing kind like in the city, but gentle like someone softly tapping their fingernail on a leaf. You don't need to look up. The damp creeping into your sleeve is enough to tell you. The sky has changed its mind. The mail carrier stops beside a small house, with a grass-thatched roof and weathered gray wooden walls. They knock 3 times, then stand still. No one answers. The recipient of this letter is gone, they say, as if they already knew. But I still have to deliver it. You blink. Deliver it to who? To time, the mail carrier replies, then quietly opens their bag and takes out a small ebony mailbox, placing it gently on the doorstep. They attach a letter wrapped in coarse linen, the seams of which seem to have been opened once, then sewn shut again with red thread. This person used to send letters to themselves, they explain. Once a year, for 30 years. You step back a little, confused, a bit in awe. And now the final letter has arrived. The mail carrier doesn't knock again. Instead, they pull from their bag an oil paper umbrella, the kind you thought only existed in old movies, and tell you to keep moving. On the ground, water traces fine paths in the dirt, flowing along the road, as if the rain is also carrying letters to somewhere unknown. On the way, the mail carrier tells you about a strange postal system once used in the Edo period. Coded letters, in the form of cooking recipes. Words can be intercepted, they say, but recipes can't. People used to send messages by writing. Recipes. 3 parts water to 7 parts rice meant meet in 3 days at the 7th bridge. A pinch of salt meant be careful, someone is watching. Replace dried fish with egg meant change the person delivering the letter. You laugh, half doubting. Then I bet everyone who tried the recipe got food poisoning. The mail carrier shrugs. Better to get sick and survive with the truth than eat safely and live in lies. Historians still debate whether this food code system was truly widespread or just folklore. Some Majira records mention a peculiar meal shared by 2 former spies, but no one can say for sure. You're starting to realize that letters, whether written in words, recipes, fans, or whispered breaths, are how humans cling to each other in a world too wide, too lonely. When you rest under the shade of a large camphor tree, the mail carrier pulls from their bag an object you haven't seen before. A smooth black stone, etched with a line of faded text. They flip it over and show you a name. Not everyone has an address, they say, so some send their name instead. Hugh Freeze. There was a time, it turns out, when if no one was left to receive your letters, Hugh carved your name into a stone and asked the mail carrier to carry it far away. It meant, if anyone still remembers me, please call my name at this place. You look at the stone and wonder, if it were yours, what would you carve? Your name, a message, an apology, or just a blank space. The rain fades entirely as you return to the main road. A group of farmers passes by, each carrying a small linen pouch, carefully tied shut. When you ask, the mail carrier smiles. They're carrying letters to the gods. You think it's a joke, but it's not. There are autumn festivals, where people send letters to the rice god, the wind god, even retired deities, the ones whose shrines no longer operate. No one expects a reply, but people still write, still carry, still place them on bamboo altars, among fruit and rice cakes. Because writing, even if no one reads it, is a way of saying, I once thought of this. And perhaps that's why you're here, in this story, because part of you wants to send something out, even if you don't know to whom, and aren't sure anyone will receive it. The mail carrier glances at you, squinting with a small grin. Got a letter in your heart? You think for a moment? You don't answer, but you know the answer is yes. The road turns from dirt to gravel as you and the mail carrier wind up a small mountain pass. The trees thin out, leaving only moss-covered rocks and clumps of low bamboo. The smell of damp grass, old paper, and the sweat of a long day blends into a strange perfume, not unpleasant, but evocative. It reminds you of days when you traveled far, only to realize you didn't know what you were looking for. The mail carrier stops at an abandoned mail station. The roof is half collapsed, leaving just the wooden frame and a faded sign. Takanoza, station route, no. 3. You step inside, gravel crunching underfoot. On the wall, a few letters remain, rusted in place with crooked nails, no names, no recipients. One reads, "For someone I never met." Another, "If this wind reaches you." And the last, "Please don't read out loud." You stoop to pick up a fallen one. The ink is smudged, but the first line is still legible. "It's strange to write to a future I'm not sure I'll live to see." The mail carrier says nothing, letting you finish the letter. Then, softly, "There was once someone who lived only to send letters, never to receive." You turn. Why? Because they were afraid. The carrier replies, afraid one day they'd open a letter and find nothing inside. That sentence settles in you, like an ink stain you'll never erase. As you leave the station, the mail carrier pulls out a small jar of letter ash. The remains of letters, burned, not out of secrecy, but because the sender didn't want anything left behind. They scatter a pinch under a pine tree, a private ritual you don't dare interrupt. On the path downhill, the mail carrier tells you about a nearly forgotten practice: letters for the living dead. There were times, they say, when people wrote to parents forgotten in care homes, to lovers in comas, to prisoners forbidden from replying. People not dead, but already lost to dialogue. You shiver, just a little. Then they pulled from their bag a small cloth mailbox, folded with delicate origami precision. "This is for someone on the verge of disappearing." You curiously unfold it. Inside is a slip of paper with just 7 words. "If you can read this, you're still here." You fold it back with trembling hands. It feels like a prayer, not belonging to any religion, but more sacred than any hymn you've ever heard. A strong wind sweeps through, tangling your hair and lifting a few dry leaves into the air. In that wind, you think you hear a story or a worn-out whisper through the breeze. You ask, "Has anyone ever written a letter to the mail carrier?" They stop, staring off for a long moment. "Yes," they finally say. "A child once wrote, 'Dear Mister, if you're reading this, you're the only person in the world who knows who I like.'" You laugh, caught between warmth and ache. Did the kid say who? Nope, they shrugged. Just that, and included a drawing, a small kid hugging a mailbox, grinning wide. You exhale slowly, and realize, maybe that little drawing is what kept the mail carrier walking all. This time, historians still debate the social role of mail carriers during the Edo period. They weren't just messengers, they were temporary because sometimes, both sender and recipient disappear, and only the mail carrier remains. To remember, resting beneath a tree, you suddenly ask, so if one day, no one sends letters anymore, what will the mail carrier do? They don't look at you. Instead, they look up at the sky, eyes reflecting a thin wisp of cloud. They'll learn how to write letters. To silence Nuju sitting beside them, aren't sure whether to feel sad or grateful that you still have a reason to send one. You wake up in a forest clearing, unsure of when you fell asleep. On your shoulder, your cloth satchel feels light, not as heavy as before, as if a few letters had been delivered somewhere in your dreams. The courier is sitting near a small fire, holding a thick bundle of paper tied with twine, covered in delicate, web-like handwriting. They're not writing, just turning the pages, their eyes lingering as if in conversation with the words. You walk closer, saying nothing. In that silence, the fire crackles like the laughter of someone long unheard. "These are letters never sent," the courier says. "People write to themselves, then wrap them up, and ask me to keep them." You glance at a few titles. "The moment I realized I was aging. Things I never dared tell my father, why I never returned to the train station that day." Each page is a fragment, imperfect, unfinished, yet heartbreakingly real. You ask, why not send them? "Because the recipient," they reply softly, "has become a different version of themselves. Sending the letter wouldn't mean anything now. At this moment, you no longer need a historical event. In fact, the deepest part of history may not live in textbooks at all, but in the letters never sent." You're told that during the Edo period, there was a kind of letter written through origami. Each fold carried meaning. A paper crane meant prayer. A folded box meant secrecy. And a small fan shape meant an unspoken farewell. Once folded, nothing was written. The letter was simply placed on the recipient's windowsill. After one day, If the fan remained, it meant, I'm not ready to forgive. After 2 days, I'm thinking about it. After 3 days, if it was gone, I understand, you're stunned. Even silence has a language. The courier pulls out one of these fans and hands it to you. Want to try? You take it, hands trembling slightly. The fan is neatly folded, pure white, with not a single word. You think of someone, anyone, to whom you once wished to say something, but it was too late. You place the fan on a nearby stone. No wind, no one else around, but somehow you feel lighter, as if what you left unsaid had just been written. In absence. Historians still debate whether this wordless letter tradition was truly widespread, or merely a romanticized embellishment added later. But some old administrative records do list punishments for unauthorized paper-folding messages. So perhaps, just perhaps, it was real. You recall a phrase you once heard: when words fail, images begin to speak. And here, in the forest, that folded fan is doing just that. As twilight falls, the courier leads you down a muddy path. They tell you the final destination today is an ancient mailbox nestled between 3 trees with roots intertwined. Only those who can write without paper can post letters there, they say. You nod, asking no more questions. By now, you've grown used to things that need no explanation. When the mailbox appears, a moss-covered wooden cylinder with just a narrow slit the size of your palm, you know you can't ignore it. You turn and ask, what if I want to send something, but don't know how to put it into words? The courier smiles. Then just stand still. The mailbox will sense it. You do as instructed. Standing quietly, not breathing hard, not clenching your hands. You simply think of what you wish to send. No phrasing, no searching, just feel it. And from somewhere far away, the mailbox seems to shift slightly. Like a nod you didn't see, but somehow, received. You're not sure if it really happened. But deep inside, what was never written feels like it's finally been sent. Night has fully fallen as you and the courier leave the forest. The road ahead glimmers under moonlight and mist, as if the world itself is retreating into a memory. Each step is slower now, not from exhaustion, but from the quiet desire for this journey not to end. How much farther, you ask? The courier chuckles gently. Depends on how long you want it to last. You don't answer. That reply is enough. The two of you cross a small wooden bridge. Beneath it flows a stream so still, you wonder if it's truly moving, or merely an image etched into the ground. On the other side is the final letter house. Not a station, not a storage site. A place where all undelivered letters, lost letters, letters from the future, unopened letters, are kept. The house has only one room. Inside, cabinets line the walls, each drawer marked by a moment, a year, a regret. The courier doesn't enter. They hand you a small keyring. Only those who carry memory can step in. You open the door. The smell of old paper and rotting wood envelops you. Not unpleasant, but like the scent of stories, of things kept when the world outside has forgotten. You open a few drawers. In one marked Konazawa, rainy season of 1692. You find a hastily folded letter, trembling handwriting. I'm sorry, I didn't wait. Another drawer, labeled Kyoto, February 1703, holds a letter in bold red ink. If I had said, stay that day, would things be different? You read them one by one. Your heart doesn't ache. Instead, a quiet tenderness rises, as if even what was unfinished now has a place to rest. One letter at the bottom simply reads, "To the one reading this, we may have never met, but thank you for coming. The sleep you're about to have, I prayed for it 300 years ago." You close the drawers gently, as if not to wake anyone sleeping behind them. Outside, the courier still stands, unmoving. You return the keys. Why hasn't anyone destroyed this place? They've tried. But the letters didn't allow it. You don't ask more. Perhaps you don't need to understand everything. Some things are better kept in the dim spaces, where light is soft and imagination is enough to comfort. As you return to the main road, the moon is high. Your shadow and the courier stretch across the ground, merging into one. In your hand, the cloth satchel still remains, but now it feels weightless. Maybe, this time, you are the one carrying the letters. Not to send them out, but to hold on to them. Historians still debate the true identity of the wandering couriers of the 17th century. Some say they were former samurai, living adrift. Others believe they were monks in disguise, carrying teachings wrapped in stories. But the strangest theory is this, that they had no body at all, only the embodiment of what was never said. You think of that as you leave the path. And when you turn back, the courier is gone. Only a single piece of folded paper remains in the middle of the road, shaped like a sleeping butterfly. You open it. No words, no name, only a faint scent, old rain, faded ink, and something you cannot name but feel with absolute clarity. You've listened, and that is enough. Now, the light in your mind is dimming. The images, the paper fan, the letter to the future, the courier, without a shadow, slowly dissolve into a soft mist. You don't need to hold on to them. They know the way home. This journey doesn't end. It simply changes shape. When you close your eyes, there is no bamboo forest, no letter house. But the feeling remains, a kind of quiet that isn't silence, but everything that's finally been heard. Every letter, eventually, finds its reader. And tonight, that reader is you. Sleep now. There's nothing left to write. Nothing more to send. You are exactly where you need to be. End of script. Sweet dreams.